Now take the wheel off, use a 17mm socket. Take these lug bolts off. When you go to take the last one off, just support the wheel in case it's going to fall. Then take the wheel off. Now take some needle nose pliers. We're going to take this pad sensor out. Just grab the base of the sensor and just carefully pull. Trying to see it. There we go. Pulled it out. And slide this right off the bleeder screw where the cap is. You can just pop that off. And slide that pad sensor off. Now take this clip off. Just use a pry bar. You can use some pliers to get underneath here. Just grab it, slide it off. Now I'm just going to take a pry bar and just compress the caliper a little bit, just in between the rotor and the caliper, and just try to compress it so it's a little bit loose. Now we can take these slides off. Just a couple of caps over the slides right here. Just pop those off with a screwdriver. Then you can get to the caliper slide bolts. Now I'm going to use a 7mm hex socket. Take these bolts out. Take those pins out. You can grab the caliper and you should be able to slide it off. If not, you can use a pry bar. Just pry right here. Pry it out. And then take a brake caliper hanger. Take the brake caliper hanger and we'll hang that from the coil spring. Just make sure there's no tension on the brake hose. Now I can take the brake pads off. These ones are stuck on there pretty good. Just pry those off. And take this one off the caliper. There's just a clip that holds into the piston. Now use a 16mm socket, take these two bolts out. And take the bracket off. Using a 6mm hex socket, we're going to take this screw out right here, give it a couple taps. Take that out and grab the rotor. If it seems like it doesn't come off too easy, just take a hammer, give it a tap on those areas, slide it down. Now I'm going to clean up the hub area. You can use a wire brush or a die grinder. Just be careful, don't take off too much material. Take a thin coat of anti-seize and just put it on the hub surface. That's good. Take the back of the rotor and just spray some brake parts cleaner on it. Wipe it off with a rag. Flip the rotor around, do the same on the front, and wipe it off. Slide the rotor on the hub. Make sure you line that hole up with the threaded hole. And take the screw, get that started. And we'll snug that down. Not too tight, just snug. That's good. Now we're going to clean up the bracket. Just use a wire brush. Just try to get some of the corrosion off if there's any rust on there. That all cleaned up, just take some brake caliper grease and just put it on the spots where the pads are going to go. Just a thin coat. That's good. Now slide this over the brake rotor. Get the bolts started. Tighten those down. Now I'm going to torque these bolts to 81 foot-pounds. I'm going to take the caliper off the hanger. Flip it around. We're going to compress that piston. Just use a compressing tool. Just go nice and slow. And compress the piston. As you're pushing this back, fluid's going through the lines, through the hoses, back up into the master cylinder reservoir. All right, it's compressed all the way. Take the tool off. Take the brake pad, we'll slide that into the piston. This one has the bracket on it. Just like that. The other brake pad's just going to go right here. I'll reinstall the caliper. Take the pins and just clean these off with a little brake parts cleaner. wipe it off with a rag. Now just take the pins, just put a little caliper grease on those. Nice thin coat. And install those in the caliper. And tighten these down. And torque these down to 22 foot-pounds. And put these caps on. And there should be one that goes there as well. Now take this bracket, line this up here. You can use some pliers if you need to. And just push it back in place. It should clip in right there and just be holding right there. Now take the end of the pad sensor and we're going to slide that into the pad. And you can see where it's raised up a little bit. That's going to go towards the pad. Just slide that in. You can use needle nose pliers. With that locked in, we can go over the bleeder screw, just like that, and then put that cover over. Take the tire, line it up. Put the lug nuts on, lug bolts, get those all started. Now I'm going to torque these lug bolts to 110 foot-pounds in a cross pattern to tighten the wheel down evenly. Now just go around again, double check.